The desert stretched endlessly under two suns, its golden sands burning hot during the day and freezing cold at night. The ruins of strange towers stood like broken teeth across the horizon, reminders of a forgotten age. Among these ruins walked a lone human soldier, his armor dusty, his lips cracked from thirst. His supplies were nearly gone, and the last thing he carried in his pack was a small bar of chocolate. He had been separated from his squad after an ambush. For days he had wandered across the alien wasteland, hoping to find shelter, hoping to find water. His strength was fading, and every step felt heavier. Yet he pressed on, because that was what humans did. They endured, they survived, even when the odds were against them. As he climbed over a fallen stone pillar, he stopped suddenly. There, sitting in the shadow of a broken statue, was a figure, a girl, thin and fragile, wearing a hooded robe that covered most of her body, her eyes, wide and luminous, fixed on him with a mix of fear and hope. Her skin carried a faint blue glow, her features delicate, almost otherworldly. She looked young, weak, and starving. The soldier raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. The girl tilted her head, watching every movement. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She seemed too weak to speak. Her hands trembled as she clutched the robe around herself. The soldier reached into his pack, his fingers brushing against the last piece of food he had saved. The chocolate bar. He hesitated. It was all he had left, his final source of energy. If he gave it away, he would have nothing for himself. But as he looked into her eyes, wide and filled with silent desperation, he made his choice. He broke the chocolate into smaller pieces and held one out to her. The girl's eyes widened, her lips trembling. She stared at the strange gift as if it were treasure. Slowly, her hand lifted, delicate and unsure. She took the piece, her fingers brushing against his gloved hand. Then she brought it to her lips. The moment she tasted it, her expression changed. Her eyes grew even wider, and a faint glow shimmered across her skin. She gasped softly, as though the simple taste of chocolate was more powerful than anything she had ever known. She ate it slowly, savoring every bite, as if it were the first real food she had ever tasted. The soldier watched in silence, his own hunger gnawed at him, but he felt something stir in his chest. It was not regret, it was a strange warmth, the knowledge that even here, on a dying world, kindness could still matter. The girl looked at him, her glowing eyes shining with something new. She spoke in a soft, broken voice, the words foreign but heavy with meaning. He did not understand her language, but her tone told him enough. It was gratitude, it was wonder. She finished the piece of chocolate and pressed her hand to her chest. Bowing her head slightly, her hood slipped back, revealing more of her face. Her hair fell like silver threads around her shoulders. Her beauty was striking, fragile yet powerful in its own way. The soldier offered another small piece, and again. She accepted. This time she did not eat it quickly. She held it in her palm, staring at it as though it was more than food. Her lips moved as she whispered in her alien tongue, words he could not follow. Yet her eyes, filled with light, told him that this moment meant more to her than he could guess. A sudden sound broke the silence. The wind shifted, carrying with it a distant roar. The soldier's hand went to his weapon, scanning the dunes. The girl stiffened, her glowing eyes darting toward the horizon. For the first time since he had found her, her face was not only weak, it was afraid. The soldier crouched beside her, his instincts sharp. He did not know what hunted them in this wasteland, but he knew the look in her eyes. It was the look of someone who had been hiding for a long time, someone running from danger. The girl clutched the last piece of chocolate tightly, her hands shaking. She whispered one word he almost understood, a word that carried across languages. It was a warning, it was a plea. The soldier tightened his grip on his weapon, his body tense. The desert stretched silent again, but he knew they were no longer alone. And as he glanced at the girl beside him, the truth settled deep in his chest. She was not just a poor wanderer, lost in the sands. There was something hidden behind those glowing eyes. Something powerful, something dangerous. And by sharing his last chocolate bar, he had stepped into a story far larger than survival. The desert wind howled softly as the girl held the small piece of chocolate in her pale hand. Her glowing eyes studied it as though it was more than food, as though it was a secret gift from another world. She raised it to her lips again, this time slower, letting it rest on her tongue. Her whole body shivered, not from hunger, but from something deeper. The human soldier watched closely. His own stomach was empty, but he felt no regret. He saw the way her expression changed, the way her shoulders lifted slightly, as though the taste carried warmth she had never known. She closed her eyes for a moment, a faint glow spreading across her skin, almost like starlight beneath the surface. When she opened her eyes, they seemed brighter than before. She looked at him, her lips parting as if to speak, but the words that came were in her own alien tongue. They were soft, fragile, yet carried weight. The soldier did not understand, but he heard the tone. It was not only thanks, it was something deeper, something close to reverence. The girl pressed her hand to her chest, then gestured to him, then to the chocolate. Her eyes were wide, shimmering with a question he could not answer. The soldier tilted his head, not understanding, but offered her another small piece from the bar. She took it with trembling hands, holding it as though it were treasure. As she ate again, the glow in her skin pulsed, faint at first, then stronger. The soldier leaned back slightly, his instincts warning him that something unusual was happening. He had seen many things in the galaxy, strange weapons, strange creatures, but never had he seen food awaken light within a body. The girl gasped softly, her hand reaching for the sand beside her. She pressed her palm flat against the ground, and to the soldier's shock, the sand beneath her shifted. For a heartbeat, it swirled like water around her fingers, then settled again. She pulled back quickly, breathing hard, her face filled with confusion and fear. The soldier gripped his weapon tightly, his eyes narrowing, but then he saw her expression. She was just as shocked as he was. Her lips moved again, whispering to herself in her alien language. He did not need to understand to know she was saying, "How? Why?" For the first time, he realized that the girl was not simply poor, not simply starving. There was something inside her, something waiting to be awakened, and somehow, his small act of kindness, his sharing of chocolate, had triggered it. The girl looked at him again, this time not with desperation, but with wonder. Her glowing eyes searched his face, as if trying to understand him. She reached out suddenly, her fingers brushing the armor on his arm. Her touch was light, but her voice carried a plea, a single word in broken human language. "Why?" The soldier hesitated, then answered simply, his voice rough from thirst. "Because you needed it." The girl tilted her head, repeating softly, "Needed," as though tasting the meaning of the word. She smiled faintly, the first real smile since he had seen her. But their quiet moment was broken. The air trembled with a low hum. The soldier froze, his instincts sharp. He scanned the horizon, and there it was, a dark shape moving fast across the dunes. Metal glinted under the suns, engines roaring low. The girl's smile vanished. Her eyes widened with fear. She whispered quickly, her words tumbling out. Her voice shook, her hands clutching the edge of her robe. She pointed toward the approaching shadows, then back to herself. The soldier didn't need translation. Whoever they were coming for her. He rose too, his feet pulling her up with him. His hand tightened around his weapon. His body ached from exhaustion, but his spirit stood strong. The girl stayed close, her robe fluttering in the wind. The piece of chocolate still clenched tightly in her hand. The shadow grew closer, revealing a raiding skimmer, armored and bristling with weapons. Figures stood on its deck, their armor dark, their faces hidden by masks. The girl shuddered at the sight, pressing herself closer to the soldier, her glowing eyes filled with dread. The soldier glanced at her, realizing the truth. She was not just a wanderer, not just poor. She was someone hunted, someone important, And now, by giving her chocolate, by choosing kindness, he had placed himself in her fight. The raider skimmer roared closer, dust rising behind it. The soldier raised his weapon, his jaw tight, his voice steady. He muttered, "Stay behind me." The girl clutched his arm, her trembling slowing as if his calm steadied her. The first shots fired, streaks of energy ripping through the sand. The soldier pulled the girl down behind the broken statue, returning fire with precision. His training kept his aim sharp, each shot pushing the raiders back, but they kept coming, their numbers too many. The girl crouched beside him, her glowing skin pulsing faster. She looked at the last piece of chocolate still in her hand, her lips pressed tightly. She ate it in one bite, her eyes closing. The soldier glanced at her, confused. Then he froze. The glow across her skin flared brighter, spreading like fire under her flesh. Her robe shimmered, her body trembling as if something within her was waking. She opened her eyes, and this time they burned with light. Her voice was stronger, her words clear in her alien tongue. The soldier did not understand, but the power in her tone shook the air. The raiders stopped firing for a moment, startled by the sudden glow. The soldier looked at her in shock, realizing what had happened. The chocolate had awakened something hidden, something ancient. The girl turned to him, her glowing eyes fierce. She whispered a single word in broken human language, her voice steady, "Together." And in that moment, the soldier understood. The girl was no longer helpless, and the desert was no longer silent. The battle had only just begun. The raider skimmer circled like a predator in the desert, engines growling low. Sand whipped through the air, stinging against the soldier's armor. He kept his weapon steady, firing bursts that forced the attackers to keep their distance. But he knew his strength and ammunition were running low. His heart pounded, yet his face stayed calm. Beside him, the alien girl crouched low, her robe torn by the wind. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the sand. The glow spread from her fingertips into the desert floor. The soldier glanced at her, confused. "What are you doing?" he muttered. But she only whispered in her own tongue, her voice quick and urgent. The sand around them began to shift, rippling like water. The soldier's eyes widened. He had seen strange technology, advanced weapons, but never had he seen the desert itself answer a whisper. The raiders shouted, pointing toward the glow. They fired again, but the shots scattered as the ground beneath them rippled violently. The girl gasped and pulled her hands back. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. She looked at the soldier, her face pale. "Not enough," she whispered in broken human speech. The soldier frowned, but before he could respond, she grabbed his wrist. Her grip was weak but desperate. She pressed her forehead to his arm, whispering faster in her language. The soldier did not understand her words, but he felt her meaning. She was afraid, but also determined. He realized then that she was not helpless, not poor, but something much more. The chocolate he had given her had awakened strength she did not fully control. The skimmer turned again, its engines roaring louder. Raiders leapt from its sides, landing on the sand with weapons drawn. The soldier aimed, firing carefully, each shot taking down one enemy, but more came. Their numbers were too great. The girl rose to her feet, her robe falling back, revealing her slender form glowing faintly with energy. She raised her hand, and the sand shifted once more. This time the ripples became sharper, jagged, like blades rising from the desert floor. The raiders stumbled, their footing lost. Some cried out as the sand wrapped around their legs like chains. The soldier stared in shock, his mind raced. He had thought she was starving, weak, fragile. Yet here she was, bending the desert itself to her will, her face strained, sweat dripping. But she did not stop. Her glowing eyes fixed on the raiders with a fury that did not belong to someone powerless. One raider shouted something to the others, and the word carried across the desert. Even the soldier could hear it. "Princess." The girl froze for a moment, her eyes widened and the glow around her faltered. The soldier caught the word too. His chest tightened. He looked at her. Realization dawning. She was not simply a lost wanderer. She was someone important, hunted, feared. Her robe, her hunger, her weakness, these were disguises. She was hiding from something far greater than raiders. The raiders pushed forward, shouting louder now. "Princess, capture her!" Their weapons fired, blasts of light cutting through the air. The soldier pulled her down behind a broken pillar, shielding her with his body, his voice sharp. "Princess, is that what you are?" The girl shook her head quickly, her lips pressed tight. But then her eyes softened, and she whispered one word. "Yes." The soldier stared at her, his breath heavy. His mind reeled with questions. Why would a princess be alone in the desert? Why would she be starving? Why would raiders hunt her? But this was not the time, not with death closing. The girl grabbed his arm again, her glowing eyes burning fiercely. She spoke broken human words, her voice trembling. "They want me, not you. Go." But the soldier shook his head, his voice firm. "Not leaving you." His tone was steady, certain. He had made his choice the moment he gave her chocolate. He was part of this now, whether he wanted it or not. The girl's eyes widened. Her lips parted as if to argue, but no words came. For the first time, she looked at him not with fear or desperation, but with something close to trust. The raiders regrouped, their skimmer circling closer. More warriors leapt onto the sand. The soldier gritted his teeth. His weapon hummed low, nearly out of power. He looked at the girl, her glow flickering. "Can you stop them?" he asked quickly. She shook her head. "Not alone." The soldier nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we do it together." He rose from cover, firing the last of his shots with precision, forcing the raiders back again. The girl stood beside him, raising her hands. The glow across her skin flared, brighter than before. The sand rose like a storm, whirling around them in a circle. The raiders shielded their faces, shouting in fear. Their skimmer tilted under the force, engine straining. The desert roared with power, and in the heart of it stood a human and an alien girl, side by side, bound not by blood, not by fate, but by a single act of kindness. The raiders pulled back, retreating to their skimmer, shouting threats as they fled across the dunes. The storm of sand slowly calmed. Falling back into silence, the girl collapsed to her knees, exhausted. Her glow dimmed again, but her breathing was steady. The soldier knelt beside her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. His voice was low. "Princess, what have I stepped into?" She looked up at him, her glowing eyes filled with both sorrow and hope. Her lips moved slowly, her voice quiet. "You saved me now. They will never stop." The soldier's chest tightened. He realized her words were not a warning. They were a truth. By sharing his last chocolate bar, he had not only saved a stranger, he had stepped into a war he did not yet understand. And as the desert winds howled around them, the human knew his life would never be the same. The desert lay quiet after the raiders fled, but the silence did not bring peace. The human soldier scanned the horizon, his weapon heavy and nearly drained. The alien girl sat on the sand, her body trembling, the glow in her skin fading as exhaustion pulled at her strength. He crouched beside her, his voice calm but firm. "We cannot stay here. They will return." The girl lifted her head slowly, her glowing eyes soft with worry. She nodded once, whispering in broken human speech, "More will come." Her voice was faint, but her words carried truth. The soldier helped her to her feet, steadying her as they moved toward the shadow of the ruined towers. The ruins rose like jagged teeth against the sky. Stone arches and broken statues lay half buried in the sands. The soldier guided her inside, his eyes sharp, his instincts warning him that danger was close. The girl leaned on him, her robe fluttering in the wind. Her hand still clutched the empty wrapper of the chocolate bar, as if it was a symbol of the moment their fates had become bound. They found shelter beneath a shattered dome. The soldier scanned the area, then crouched low beside her, his voice low. Who are they hunting you for? Why? The girl lowered her gaze, her voice trembling. I am heir to lost throne. They fear me, my blood. Dangerous. Her words were broken, but her meaning was clear. The soldier's jaw tightened. He had suspected she was more than she appeared, but now the truth carried weight. Protecting her meant standing against forces larger than he imagined. Yet he did not step back. He had already chosen before he could speak again. The sound of engines roared across the dunes. The girl stiffened, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The soldier rose quickly, peering through the cracks of the ruined wall. His heart sank. This time it was not a single skimmer. It was three, each larger, bristling with weapons. Armored figures standing tall on their decks. The girl whispered, her voice shaking. Hunters. The soldier's breath came slow, steady. His weapon was nearly empty, his strength fading, yet he did not show fear. He looked at her, his voice calm. Stay behind me. She shook her head, her glowing eyes fierce despite her trembling. Together, she said softly, reminding him of the words she had spoken before. The skimmers closed. In forming a circle around the ruins, raiders leapt down, their boots sinking into the sand. They moved like predators, weapons raised. The leader stepped forward, his armor black with crimson markings. His mask gleamed under the suns. His voice echoed, Princess, surrender. Your human cannot save you. This world belongs to us. Your throne is dead. The girl's body shook, but she stepped forward. Her glowing eyes locked on him. No, she said, her voice soft but firm. The leader laughed, raising his hand to signal the attack. The soldier moved first. His weapon cracked, bursts of energy cutting through the air. Raiders fell, the sand erupting with fire. The girl raised her hands, her glow pulsing brighter. The ground shook as the sand rose like a storm, wrapping around the raiders' legs, pulling some down. The battle had begun. The hunters pressed forward, their numbers overwhelming. Blades clashed, energy blasts lit the ruins in blinding light. The soldier fought with precision. Every shot and strike measured. His training carried him through, but the weight of numbers bore down. He ducked behind a broken pillar, reloading, his voice sharp. We cannot hold this forever. The girl stood beside him, her glow flickering. Her voice trembled, my power growing, but not steady. She pressed her palm to the ground again, and the sand rippled outward, knocking raiders off their feet. Her strength surged, but each effort drained her. The leader of the hunters advanced, his blade burning red. His voice thundered, You cannot escape, princess. Your bloodline ends here. He swung his weapon toward her, but the soldier leapt between them, his blade sparking as it blocked the strike. The clash shook the air, the human's arms straining, but his stance never broke. The girl cried out, raising her hands. A surge of energy burst from her body, throwing the raiders back in a wave of light. The leader stumbled, his mask cracking. His furious eyes glared at her. So the rumors are true. You carry the ancient power. The soldier looked at her quickly, realizing this was more than royal blood. This was something hidden, something that could change the balance of power. The chocolate he had given her had not only fed her hunger, it had awakened what lay dormant inside. The hunters regrouped, circling closer. The soldier's chest rose and fell heavily, his weapon hummed low, nearly spent. He looked at the girl, her body shaking but her eyes burning bright. We cannot run, we fight here, he said. She met his gaze, her glowing eyes filled with determination. For the first time her voice was steady. Yes, together. The ruins shook again as the hunters charged. The desert roared with chaos, and in the heart of it stood a human and an alien princess, side by side, their bond forged not by power, not by blood, but by a simple act of kindness. The suns dipped lower, shadows stretching long across the sand. The battle raged on, but even as the hunters closed in, the soldier felt something deep in his chest, a truth stronger than fear. Humanity had faced worse, and they had endured, and now against the hunters of a fallen empire, he would endure again, not alone, But with her,